So, hi, this is Pat Maloney, and my name is Sandra Joyce, and we are going to be doing a short interview today about Pat's life as a home child, starting off in Ireland and then coming to Canada around the age of 16. And he's going to tell us and give us some insight into his story. I think it will be very interesting. So, Pat, could you tell us maybe a little bit about you told me that you were put on the doorstep of a doctor at the age of 4. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. This Dr. Pigott, who worked amongst the poor in Dublin, his wife was responsible for kids put on their doorstep for placing them in home. So she had to develop a network of homes to place us, and I was placed in Greystones, which is just outside Dublin, with a Mrs. Duncan. I could tell you a few stories about Mrs. Duncan, but to us she was mother. And I was 4. I was on the doorstep much earlier as an infant.
Oh.
So I had another mother, according to the letters,
Yeah.
that treated me very well and loved me, but the son was paying her rent. So he said I had to go. And that was when Mrs. Pigott took over and put me with a foster mother, Mrs. Duncan.
Right.
And at that stage I was 4.
And you were telling me some things about life there and how good it was for
Oh, yeah.
a young boy.
Greystones, in my day, was just a quaint little fishing village. And Mrs. Duncan, she was old then to me. There were 5. She always had 5 boys, and we were allowed to roam around wherever we liked. There was. Being the south of Ireland, there was a huge Catholic church, and their bell pealed at 6 o'clock in the evening. It wouldn't matter where we were, that was a signal for us to head back to home, Mrs. Duncan.
Yeah.
But I must say, I loved that period in Greystones then. Today, as I say, it's a bedroom for Dublin, and it's completely different.
Yeah. You said it was one of the happiest times of your life.
And looking back, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was.
But you had to leave at 10,
At age
right?
10, we were beyond Mrs. Duncan's resources, because she relied on help. And one of my jobs on Saturday morning was to go to certain places to pick up food for us that people had donated.
Right.
I loved it because they always gave me a great big meal too, which was more than I normally got. But yeah, I would say my time in Greystones was probably the happiest time
Yeah.
in my life, because we had freedom to roam around. Well, there were always 5 of us.
Mm-hmm. But you had to leave, and you went.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Duncan couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't cope with.
You went to England,
Uh,
to Fegan's home in England.
yeah, I
right?
have to stop and think there. Yeah, sometimes parents came and took the kids home,
Right.
but I didn't have any parents,
Yeah.
so I was, as some boys before me, was shipped across to Fegan's homes
Mm-hmm.
in Stony Stratford, England.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been 10 then.
Yeah.
So
What was life like there?
at the homes?
Yeah.
Well, there were 150 of us, all
Right.
boys. It could be pretty strict. As I mentioned earlier, you know, our lives were governed with this whistle. Every master had a whistle on the end of a leather towel. And we were assembled by the whistle. We met outside for school or for meals, we assembled. It was just a routine.
Yeah.
They had to be strict
Yeah.
because, you know, 150 kids.
150 boys.
Yeah, boys, yeah. But all in all, you know, I can't complain about the treatment.
So
Some masters were more difficult than others,
yeah.
and I probably forget a lot of stuff that I should be telling.
That's okay.
We wore those white collars, you know, celluloid collars with bow ties.
Yeah.
It's in the book there. But all in all, you know, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
To some extent, I'd say it was enjoyable.
So eventually you had to come to Canada.
Yeah.
Was that your decision or was it their decision or?
Well, what happened with me, a notice appeared on the board that they were going to send some boys to Canada. If you wanted to, sign up. Right away, I signed up, and I remember the master saying when I went in for the interview, I thought you'd want to go.
Why do you think he said that? Don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, that's how I got to Canada.
And what did Canada mean to you then at that point? Did you know anything about Canada?
No. Oh, no, I didn't know a thing. But I was with other boys.
Right. So it was an adventure.
Sure,
Yeah.
that was more the idea.
Yeah.
The orphanage, you know, we regarded it as a prison, but it really wasn't too bad.
So in 1937, you got on a ship and you came and arrived
Yeah.
in...
Well, Fegans had this practice of sending groups of boys. The government didn't support, they didn't sponsor it, but they certainly supported the idea of sending kids out to Canada to work on farms. And I think in my group there were 18, and I got placed on a farm near Queensville. As I say, Fred Knight's farm. And I was fortunate because they were very nice.
So what was what was the voyage like?
Well, it wasn't so good for me. It was wonderful for the others because, you know, the meals on board ship were fantastic. But from the time we got out on the ocean till we entered the St. Lawrence, I was sick as a dog.
Oh, no.
So I missed all those
Wonderful
meals. But once I hit St. Lawrence, I recovered.
So where did you land in? Did you land in Halifax?
No, in Quebec City.
Quebec City. And then you came to Toronto by train?
Train, yeah.
So what did you
Train
think?
from there to Montreal, and then Montreal to Toronto. And Fegans had a home in Toronto where, you know, they kept us overnight and so on. And Mr. Hutchison was the superintendent, and he was very active in Jarvis Street Baptist Church.
So this is George Street in Toronto.
Yeah. We stayed, that's right.
Yeah.
And he was responsible for placing us on farms. And I'm not sure how he did it, but I ended up with the Knights. And they were lovely people.
That's good. It sounds. And you stayed with them until
till I was about 6 years, 16,
Okay.
10 when I got there. I was in my 16th year anyway.
When you came to Canada?
No, uh, I was 10,
Okay.
I think, when I came to Canada.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I say, they had this practice of sending kids out to Canada to work on farms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was placed on Fred Knight's farm.
Yeah, and you stayed there how long?
Oh, I think it was 3 years, and then I joined the Air Force.
Oh, you were in the Air Force.
Yeah, I joined the Air Force, and I'm not sure, it was the same as my previous experience, just another adventure or something.
Yeah.
And then I went back overseas and flew overseas.
So when you were in the Air Force, you were the Canadian Air Force?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. And you showed me something earlier that you dropped like freedom pamphlets over Germany, asking them to end the war.
Trying to encourage them to give up.
Yeah.
That was our first bombing raid, was these leaflets.
Oh, okay.
It was sort of an introduction for us too.
Yeah. Then that was 1944, I think, right?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And from there on, we completed, and I had a very good crew, which was awfully important. There were 7 in the Lancaster crew, and some of the crews were pretty reckless. And Canadians had a reputation for being reckless. But our crew was pretty mature, and
Okay.
now gradually they all died. Last year there was 2 of us left, the navigator and I, but he's since passed away, and I'm the only one left.
Were you the pilot?
I wasn't well educated.
Oh.
I was a gunner. I had one ambition in the Air Force. Air crew had a white flash they wore in their caps, and that was my ambition. And I got it. I wore one of those things, and then I went on to get my wings, my air gunner's wings. And from there on, it was quite, I wouldn't use the word enjoyable, but
An adventure.
I enjoyed it, yeah. I did enjoy it.
So after the Air Force, what did you do?
After the Air Force, well, the Air Force, either Army or any of them, they gave you 2 choices when you were discharged. You could get money for a mortgage for a house, or you could go back to school and bring up your qualifications to get into university. Well, I knew what I wanted to do. So I got my qualifications upgraded. Took me a long time at Ryerson then. And I got into the U of T and became a teacher in Toronto. So my career was in Toronto as a public school teacher, and then latterly as a principal.
Which school was that?
Well, I'll tell you one you should know. Jesse Ketchum,
Yes.
Bay in Devonport.
Yep.
I was moved around a lot. My final one was out in Parkdale, Queen Victoria School. That's where I ended up. I retired from there.
So if we just look back on your beginnings as a home child, and is there anything that you want to tell people about that, about how you felt when you came to Canada? What was that like for you? Did you have, when you realized that it would be hard to go back,
It was what?
hard to go back.
Yeah, yeah. No, every step seemed to be logical and, as far as I was concerned, very acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was more fortunate than a lot of kids who got into difficult homes. And then the Air Force, in the end, gave me the opportunity to upgrade my education, which was a real lifesaver. So I guess I just have to be thankful that things worked out the way they did.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a very interesting life,
Well,
and you were married and you have two
I was
daughters.
married. My wife was born in Japan. Her parents were missionaries,
Mm-hmm.
and then they had to leave the mission for some reason, and they taught English. And then the kids, my wife was born, there are two others. It got that they didn't speak a word of English, but they were very good in Japanese, because the people in the house, when the kids were chattering away outside, they couldn't tell the difference. But the point was, my wife's family weren't learning English.
Mm-hmm.
So that made them decide to come back to England. But I guess then I went back to Germany to teach school. And that's where I really met up with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
We had to be single, but we got married on the way back. And that would be, I don't know, 50, in the late 50s. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Gets a little hazy there. But all in all, when I look back on my life, I have to be thankful that things work out the way they did. My lot fell with very good people,
Yes.
I must say, which wasn't true of all the kids.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful.
Well, that's great. I'm
And
really
then
glad.
my career was in Toronto.
Yeah.
I ended up as a principal there. And I don't know, I've been retired so long now, a whole generation, I think, probably close to 30 years. So what can I complain about?
So I'd like to thank you, Pat, for taking the time to talk to us, and I'm sure lots of people will gain some knowledge
Yeah.
of what life was like for
As a
their...
home child, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine probably wasn't typical, but on looking back, I'd say it was beneficial to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and hearing lots of stories that I've had, they've been really good, they've been bad, they've been in between. There are so many different stories, and I'm really glad that you shared yours with us.
There's only one lad that I know that's still living. He's in Ireland. Forget his name. But he and I were contemporaries in the home. But he wasn't sent out to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed in Britain.
Mm.
Forget his name. I shouldn't have forgotten his name, but
That's okay.
to my knowledge, he and I are the only ones that I can know about
Mm-hmm.
that are still around. And I'm in Emeka now, you know,
Yes.
assisted living, where I get all my meals. That's the good thing. I go to Florida in
sounds
the
good.
winter,
Oh,
but I have to cook my own meals, and I don't like that. It's good to come back here. And it's just interesting that I end up back almost where I started, you know, close to Queensville.
like a full round trip.
Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
that having that.
So you were meant to be here.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
Next year I'm going to vote for the mayor.
Okay, I think,
Oh, either one, yeah.
thank you very much, and